Hey guys, coming to you from Santiago, Chile, where the virus scare is just starting. And I know many of you are new to the whole working from home thing, and you might have a little difficulty transitioning. So I thought I would spruce up a presentation I did a while back for my remote team and present that to you and talk a little bit around what it means or how to be successful working from home. So I am going to share my screen. And I'm going to start with the presentation called Working from Home Like a Badass. So tips for successful remote work. So working from home is usually what all people want to do. It's always a big draw for the digital nomads as well as for people who work in offices. Having been a digital nomad now for almost 15 years, I'm over it. It's not all it's cracked up to be. And the things that I miss the most is having a team. So if you've been working in an office all this time and suddenly you're working from home, chances are you're going to miss your team. You're going to miss having people around you. And it's a little different working from home. You have to be more independent. Their communication is a little tougher. You'll find that you'll always feel like you're on. You don't actually get to get off, especially if you are using your work tools on your phone. So you're always connected. So you know what I mean when you feel like you're always on. So you need to realize that the isolation is a real thing and that you need to combat that. And, you know, working from home now, especially if you live alone, it means that you might spend an entire day or an entire week not actually going out of the house or speaking to people. So it's tough, it's not an easy thing to do. So just try to get out of the house. And if you're not allowed to get out of the house because you live in Italy, then, go hang on the balcony, go in the backyard or do something to get out of the house or get out of your workspace. You need to have those breaks. But there's technology, and the good thing about technology is that we are, we have so many tools now, and the tools we have are really good. So if your company is using Slack, you're chatting with people all day. And then Zoom, which is what I'm using to record this video, is also a great tool to do video calls. So instead of having just a call on the phone with people, try to have video calls, because seeing somebody's face and laughing with your work colleagues on video will do a will go a long way to reducing a little bit the isolation that you feel. So the other really important part of this is to establish a routine. The last thing you want is to always be on. So get on a schedule. Try to, start and end at regular times, like if you were going to the office and leaving at 8:30 and coming back at 6, like that. You want to limit distractions. So it's easy, you're working from home, you can do laundry, vacuum. You want to limit distractions and really work and focus. You want to get dressed for work because although it's tempted to work in your PJs, psychologically not great. And it's good to have a dedicated workspace. So if you have the extra room to put like a desk, or even if you have an office space, At the end of the day, you just walk out and close that door and feel like you're getting a little bit of distance and closure. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. So if you use your phone for work, you already know how easy it is to be connected, right? Oh, I'll just check email. I'll just check one email. My boss just sent me an email. I want to check that out. And then, before you know it, you're 20, 30 minutes in. So try to disconnect. And that means set a beginning and end to your workday. So don't let it creep up. Start at the time you want to start and finish at the time you finish, and then just disconnect completely. Don't check email, don't take calls as much as possible. And then if you are actually working all day inside and you're tempted to eat through your lunch, this is a good time to not do that. So, stop your day, go make lunch, have lunch somewhere else, not in front of your computer, and just try to get out of your workspace and at least give yourself that break in the middle of the day. And distractions. So I know a lot of nomads will have the TV on when they're working. Some people are able to be productive doing that, but a lot of people can't. It's an extra distraction. I know some people can't work from co-working spaces because it's just, there's too much going on. So try to limit distractions. Use a headset if you're around the noisy environment. So if you're at home, your kids are there, put on your headset. This is also a good cue for them to know that you're working and you're focused. Try to, avoid watching that TV show while you're working. Studies do show us that multitasking is not good, although we all do it. Multitasking actually makes us feel a little frazzled, and studies on happiness tell us that being present in that moment and focus is actually better for us. So something to keep in mind. I know that we're all used to doing a couple things, having a couple of screens on, but I find that when I'm really focused on work, I'm just doing what I need to do, and it really helps me be a lot more efficient. Get dressed, right? So don't work in your PJs. It's also part of like establishing your routine, right? You get dressed, you do your hair, and then you get to work. And just that psychological shift helps put you into a work mindset. And when you finish your end of day, you loosen up, take off your tie, if you're like me, you take off your shoes and you just relax a little bit. So it gives you a little more of that feeling that you're done with work and now it's time to enjoy yourself. Also, less embarrassing if the boss calls you in for a call and they want to switch on video. Always better. A dedicated workspace, so laptop on a table. If you don't have that space, you you just do what you have to do, right? Not everybody. This is a temporary thing for a lot of you, so it might not be worth the investment to create a dedicated workspace. But if you can do it, it's worth doing it. So just create a little space, a little nook, get an extra table and put it on a wall, and put a plant and make it something inviting and warm, and something a little more homey, that you feel, okay, this is a place I want to hang out for the next 8 hours. And just having that space associated with work will make you feel a lot more productive. But if you don't have that space, for example, you live in a studio, you have one table with 2 chairs, a trick that I would do is I would use one chair looking at one view for work, And when I was eating, I would literally switch chairs with a different view just to eat and, do whatever else I had to do. And that small switch actually did help create like that different mindset for myself. So, it might not be a bad idea to try that. And at the end of the day, laptop goes off, I put it in a corner and I'm not thinking about work. So there's ways to manage it even if you don't have a separate home office. Now, when you're working in an office and you have a question, you can get up, go see your workmate, have a conversation. It's a little harder to do that when you're working remotely. So you want to try to create availability. And what if you guys are using Slack or the Microsoft one, um, Tins, I think it's called, and you have some way of letting your team know you're online and available, then do that. That's good because then people know they can reach out to you during this time. If you don't have a way to do that or you're managing people in different time zones, try to find a time zone hour, shared time zone hour that works for everyone. So ask people to be online between 11 and 12, because in Europe that means it's like 6 or whatever it is, right? So try to identify a time where your team is working at the same time so that if there are questions or if there are meetings you can have quickly, you can do it during that time. If it's not possible to do that across your whole team, then try to get people to commit to what I call the golden hour, which means they will commit to being online during that hour, so that if you need to reach them and get a response quickly, you would do that during that hour. So then if you need to schedule a meeting with them, you know that that's the hour. You can block off your calendar, and keep that for meetings with the team. Or I would keep like a spreadsheet of everyone, which time zone they're in, and then what their golden hour was. So if I needed to reach out to, Melanie, I knew that Melanie was working in this time zone and she was going to be on between 10 and 11. And that's when I would schedule meetings with her. So just these little tricks will help reduce a little bit the friction of not having people near you, and the convenience that you're used to when you work in an office and you can just get up and go check it on people. The meetings on video calls is a huge thing. So especially when you're feeling isolated, it helps a lot. If you have a new workmate during this time, uh, starting with a video call and understanding how they communicate, being able to gauge their body language. Video calls are great for that. They're almost a replacement for live interaction. So if you can do video calls, I definitely would encourage you to do them. If you can't, then just phone calls and talk to people. So the other interesting part about working remotely is collaboration. So if everybody is working in different time zones at different times, um, even just from the office and not having an office or being able to walk over to somebody with a piece of paper, it helps to have a collaborative environment. So I really like Google Drive. I think it's awesome because it's cloud-based and it was meant as a cloud-based solution. And there are all sorts of other advantages with Google Drive around the document tracking history and version tracking and all that. Really awesome stuff. And you can set up notifications so that if somebody updates a document, you get notification on that. Definitely worth doing. The idea of working collaboratively on shared documents is that you're working with one source. So, with Drive or with Dropbox, emailing documents, sending them back and forth, you end up with multiple versions. You're not sure if this is the last version. Did they put your edits in or not? Working collaboratively online, everybody's working with the same document. You can see where somebody's working. You can be working on the same document at the same time in Drive. It's amazing. It's really flawless. And you can have a meeting with somebody, be looking at a document at the same time. If you don't have something like Google Drive and you're in the same Word document, you can see where somebody is in the document. You share your screen, you're looking at the same document, talking about it. It's a lot more efficient. Now, you should already have a project management. I imagine most of you work in offices with project management tools, but if you don't, when you're working remotely, you absolutely need a project management tool. And there are tons out there now, Asana and um, Trello and all of these tools, the Reich are all established tools that are out there. They're good for different types of organizations. But it's good to have some kind of way that everybody can see who's working on what, how they're progressing on those tasks, and if you guys can do some kind of like swim lanes or Kanban board where you can see who has done what, and as it moves through the process, it's a good way to make sure that people are actually working, because of course there's always going to be that segment of people that are like, no, I'm just going to watch TV and not need to work. I know none of you would do this, of course, but yeah, it's definitely something that you need to be aware of when you're working, and not just as a manager, but amongst workmates, right? You want to be sure that people are actually pulling their weight and doing what they need to do, and having some kind of visible project management that everybody can see and is live is definitely going to help a lot reduce any potential friction around that. The more transparent your team is with each other, the better this transition is going to be. And as a project manager, I like to do things agile. So if you are new to project management, look into agile project management, where you start small with few requirements. You basically test that out and then iterate around that. So you'll find that that's a lot faster. It's more efficient, and people are. It's easier for people to get through those small steps, and then make sure that you can keep them accountable, or if they run into issues, you can help them. So be agile. Definitely, this is a better way to do project management, especially with a remote team. If you're a manager, and even if you're not a manager, but you're just working with a team, it's easy to just do all of your meetings around work. But one of the things that's so precious about an office environment is having the time to go for coffee and hang out with your workmates. And you lose that when you're working from home. So you can make that time to do it. And you can do virtual co-working, hang out with people and do social calls. As a manager with a remote team, I would have a social call every couple of weeks, once a month, with whatever the team could meet, and we would just hang out and tell jokes and play games, and have that social bonding that is so critical to keeping a team healthy and happy and connected. If you are doing one-on-ones with people, take the time to do small talk, find out how they're doing, how are they adjusting to this transition. All of that is going to help. And try to see how if there's any friction with you managing them remotely, what that maybe it's that you're not responsive fast enough, or they need a response first thing in the morning and you don't get to it until the afternoon. A slight change in your schedule would facilitate that work and that relationship a lot easier. So why not do it, right? So get that feedback, ask those questions, and adjust, right? This is all about flexibility. And the other thing to remember is that you're not alone in this. Everybody who is new to working remotely is facing pretty much the same thing you're facing. And it's not easy. It's not an easy adjustment. Some people will think, oh, it's like a little vacation working from home. But when you do it for a while, you start seeing the negative sides or the harder sides of working in isolation. So don't be afraid to reach out to people and let them know, man, I'm so bored. I haven't talked to anybody. Can we do a co-working? And then you basically set up a Pomodoro and you work for 20 minutes and then you hang out for 5 and you work another 20 minutes and hang out for another 5. And just these little tricks will do a lot to reduce that isolation, make you feel more connected, and make this transition a little easier for you guys. So that's it. That's my little presentation. I have lots of experience doing this. So if you need tips, tricks, any other questions you might have, please send them to me via email. I'm always here to help you guys out. It would be my pleasure to share any expertise or experience I have. So with that, I wish you the best of luck in managing these couple of weeks, and stay safe, keep yourself healthy, and take care.